All right, here we are. Wow, it's that time, Sunday Night Live, and it's fantastic to be here. Let me stay on the right place here. This, yeah, I got three cameras. So, anyways, this one is kind of crooked, but that's okay. What's on the agenda for today? All right, good question. I'm not sure. I think we're going to answer questions and get into some other stuff. Oh, somebody sent. I don't understand that when somebody sends a request to be on live. How does that work? Um, I mean, how does that work? I don't understand. Anyway, we won't worry about that. Let's see who we got people coming on here yet. So anyway, here we are, and it's Sunday Night Live. I think it's my last live here in the this country. Um, is it? I think so. In fact, next Sunday I might be traveling. If I am, then I'll have to postpone it for a week. But will I be? Yeah, I'll be traveling. Yeah. All right. So I'm glad I thought about that. I'm glad I thought about that because I actually leave. Are you aware of outward protruding of feet can affect knees and hips? Outward, you mean back like this? You mean sideways? Yeah. Where am I? I'm still in the U.S. here. Um, oh, okay. Someone just said her mother passed from pancreatic CFCs, and do I recommend getting a full body scan? No, not at all, because it's not genetic. It's not genetic. So it goes out. Okay, it's not genetic. And let's talk about that in a minute. All right. So I'm not, instead of answering all these questions, because you guys, you know, are have lots of great questions. I'll have to ask them occasionally, but let's try to get on with what we're all about here. And I just want to remind everybody that you know we're still Facebook. By the way, Facebook. I got to tell you what they've done. All right. Now, as you know, I'm no longer really on Facebook. I'm there, and somebody's stealing my, using my, has hijacked it and is using my page or whatever, my image to sell products and stuff like that. There's still a marketing account, and Facebook refuses to help us. They refuse. We've been doing this for 2 months now, and we have 67. They have 21 different things filed with them. We've reported to the FCC. We've reported it to the Attorney General. And Facebook just says they're just playing with us. They're just playing with us. They're really bad. So now we're just saying, just take us off. We want to cancel the account because it's right now. My face so is being used to sell. I think I saw one was weight loss products or something. I don't know what it is, but you got to remember something. Everybody, please remember this. I don't sell anything. I don't sell anything. I just tell the truth. That's my what do you call it? The medium that I deal in, and that's it. So, if anybody contacts you or you see an ad or something, it's not me. It's not me. I don't do those things. I just hope to get off Facebook and never get back on again. Uh, and if you guys are on it, get off it. I mean, it's ridiculous. Even Instagram is owned by the same dude, and I don't know. So anyway, that's why we're going to go to Rumble. We got a Rumble thing, but Rumble station, but no one really knows it. So I guess we're going to start doing a show from there, and that way, when we're doing the show, and I tell you something, I can pull up the research and show you the research because I like to do that, right? Um, and it's really you quit Facebook 2 years ago. Good, excellent. Um, but anyway, so um, it all has to be researched because what I want everyone to remember is really important, and that is don't ever believe another doctor the rest of your life. Don't believe them, okay? Because If they think they're telling you the truth, they're not. And how do I know that? Because I know what they learn. They learn the lies. So, but most of them know they're not telling you the truth, and they don't care. So if they say something to you like, if you don't do what I say, you're going to be dead in 3 months, say, wow, that's really amazing. Would you mind? I appreciate that information. Would you mind sharing with me the research you read that helped you come to that conclusion? Whatever they're telling you. You're at the Mayo Clinic right now as a patient. Huh. Anyway. Oh, okay. Too bad. Too bad. As soon as you can, get out. Get out and run. Put your sneakers on and run as fast as you can. Yeah. Yep. So anyway, so I want to do this Rumble show where I can be completely real but show you research as well, because you got to believe it. Like if I'm telling you that everything I say is I've looked up, I've read, I've studied, and it's true. So, and I want you to know that. And in fact, you should never do anything anyone says until you know for sure in your heart that it's true. And you're going to only know that by studying it. And you got to study it. Okay. I know you can say, well, I'm not a doctor. Okay. I know, but I'm not an IT person. And I got all these 3 cameras set up and I'm just doing the best I can, but you got to do the best you can too. Because when it comes to your health, when it comes to a situation that is serious, you got to do your due diligence. I mean, I'm telling you, if you're going to go buy a car, you're not going to just buy the first car that somebody shows you. You're going to do your due diligence. If you're going to buy a home, if you're going to do anything like that, you're going to do due diligence, right? So this is a little more important. Usually decisions you have to make regarding your health are, the most important decisions you'll ever make. Why? Well, without health, you can't be a good friend. You can't be a good mother or father. You can't be a good son or daughter. You can't be a good professor or hotel worker or whatever you're doing. You can't be good at it. You won't do a good job, and you won't have the energy. And without health, money is useless. Without health, reason is useless. Okay, so health is the fundamental foundation of all. And if you want to be a good mom or a good dad, you got to have health. And you got to give those children laughter, and you've got to give them hope, and you've got to give them, you're their role model, and that role model's got to be healthy and happy. All right. So the number one thing, it's more precious than gold or Bitcoin, or this is the real wealth. And by the way, if you have health, that means you feel good. That means you have energy. That means whatever you're doing is okay. And if you don't have health and you have $1 trillion, it means nothing. So we've got to get all of that straight in our heads. So you got a problem with your health, do your research. Do your research. And by the way, if you just recently got diagnosed with CFCs, by the way, just as a way of we do this every week, but just to let you all know, remind you all that we don't use the Rockefeller paid for word crab. Crab is the the symbol for the zodiac sign between Gemini and Leo, right? Okay, so that sign, that has nothing to do with chronically fermenting cells that we all have in our body. And some of us, it becomes 1 gram or more. And when it becomes 1 gram or more, we can be said to have, chronic. In other words, these cells have become chronically fermenting, right? Okay, that's what they are. And by the way, just as they have become chronically fermenting, they can become unfermenting. Yeah. It's not, okay, let me just remind you about your body, okay? Because we overlook this. We're making 37 million new cells per second, okay? And that's an estimate. It might be even more. If you work out a lot or you do things like that, you might be making 57, 67. Who knows? It's hard. It's impossible. But anyway, yeah, I read the comments sometimes. I try to read them and talk at the same time. So yeah, but I can't answer all of them because I've got a bunch of questions that were sent to us, and I feel an obligation to answer those. But I'll try to best I can do it all. But anyway, let me just tell you about your body. Okay, they're very important. Your body is not a thing that happened to you. Like, oh, you were born with these genetics, and you were born with, basically they point to genetics. Well, we now know that there's something called epigenetics, which is actually more important because it can modify the genetics. And all the genetics is a library of potential responses, physiological, biochemical, and biomechanical adjustments that the body can make in order to adapt to a current situation, whatever's going on a biochemical level, etc. All right. That's what the genetics is. All right. Yeah, you wound up with dark hair. Your parents had dark hair. Your parents had a little nose. You have a little nose. Your parents would. Yeah. So there's a lot of things like that. But that's about it. You might have some resemblance to them. You look a little bit like them, but who you are, what you become, is very different, and your experiences. Anyway, on a biological level, that modifies the genes, the epigenome, the epigenetics. So epi means above, around, the genetics. Okay, and that changes it, right? So okay, this, for example, well, let's take an ovary cell, a cell in the ovary. Its job is to do what? Well, produce certain hormones, right? Like estrogens. All the time? No. When? When it's time. Because they're cycles. Well, how does the DNA, how does the genetics know it's time to start making more estrogen or progesterone, whatever? How does it know? It gets a message from the cell membrane that's sitting there in the fluid called the interstitial fluid. So the interstitial fluid is the source of the epigenetic modification, and then that'll be picked up by the membrane. The membrane sends a signal in, and then the genes will do what they're going to do, or they'll start making it, and then they stop making it once there's enough. And so the cell is responding to the environment in which it's in. That's the way it is, always. That's how biology works. Okay, so the body is responding. But you're making 37 million new cells per second. Therefore, what you were last week is not what you are this week. The condition you had last year doesn't have to be this condition you have this year, unless everything stays the same. And it's not, it's changing. That means that we are not a thing, but rather we are a process. And that's easy to see. I mean, all you got to do is think back. I want you to think back, if you can remember the first time you ever looked in the mirror. Do you remember that? How old were you? If you can remember that, can you tell me? Is that what you're seeing today? No. Is that what you saw 5 years later? No. Is that what you saw the next 6 months? No. We are not a thing. We are a process. We're happening. We are occurring. Right? Yeah. And you know what happens? Like, if you've got a knife and you cut your hand and it bled, what would happen? Well, it would bleed, then it would scab over, and then it would heal. Do you know, other than biological systems, is there anything that we've ever made, humans, that we've ever made that is healing, can heal? Do Maseratis heal if you scratch them? They're pretty expensive. Do they heal? No. No. Okay. So what a wonderful, fantastic gift we were given, this earth suit given to us by God. And it's, you know how holy it is? You know how perfect it is? Because it houses the spirit. By the way, when people, it just came to my mind earlier today, when people say, well, I had a spirit, that was a very spiritual, I had a spiritual experience. Well, no, that never happens. We are spirits having a physical experience. Every once in a while, we realize that we're spirits. That's all. Remember, this is a temporary suit to get around on the earth. If you're on the moon, you need a moon suit. If you're on the earth, you need one of these. Yeah. So here's what we have to do. We have to learn how to take care of it. How do we take care of this suit? Well, first thing we got to know is, what is it? What's it made of? Okay. And then what does it need? What does it need? And we'll just, and okay. So that's why we have what's called, we developed the School of Life. And the School of Life is, how do you live? We all went to school to some degree, right? And then let's say you graduated high school, right? So you have what's considered a general education. You know what they forgot to teach us? How to live. So it's not in the curriculum. Anyway, so what I'm trying to say to you is that whatever you were last year, you don't have to be this year, and you certainly don't have to be next year. That is empowering. That means that whatever someone tells you what's going to happen next year, it's a lie about you. They don't know if they will be here tomorrow. None of us do. None of us have a contract for tomorrow. We're here today by the grace of God, and we'll be here tomorrow by the grace of God, period. And if you think anybody knows what they're doing, you just have to realize that we don't know what we're doing. Do we know what we're doing? No. You might think, you might be deluded in thinking you know what you're doing and that you're in control and all that, right? But we're not. We all know that. We're not. Right? Look, check this out. So, let's say I say, okay, look, I'm going to build this, and then I'm going to do this. And then it happens. So what am I going to do? I'm going to say, see, I know what I'm doing. I have control. Now, let's say I'm going to do something else. I say, I'm going to do this. And then it doesn't happen. And I go, I don't know what happened. So now suddenly it becomes, I don't know what happened. I was on my way. And okay, the point is, it's all happening, and it's all a gift. Please answer your question. What is your question? Anyway, I don't know what your question is, but I'll answer. So anyway, just listen. Please listen, and then I'll answer your questions. So yeah. So the point is this: no one is right now sitting there beating their heart. I can promise you that. Your heart's beating. You're not breathing your lungs are breathing. You're not secreting your glands are secreting. When you eat food, you don't digest it, it's digested. Okay, so life happens to us. It's a happening. We take credit for it. That's crazy. So we don't even know where our thoughts come from. We have no idea the origins of our thoughts. We don't know. Okay, so you're holding your breath. So what? How did you come to that conclusion? Where did that thought come from to hold your breath? Do you know? Did you originate it, or did it just happen? How do you know? How does IPT work? Okay, we'll talk about that. Okay. Anyway, you guys are like one. All right, I get you. Sorry for all the philosophy. What I'm trying to tell you, though, is if you're asking about a therapy, you're asking, how can somebody fix me? Nobody can fix anybody. Healing happens. How does it happen? When you're living a life that is health. That is, you're living a healthy life, the result is health. Okay? Now, but let's say you're doing everything you can, but you live in a world where there's 5G, right? So what do? Well, if you have any choice, hoping that this thought comes to you, get out of here. Let's get out. Let's get away while we can. Okay? Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is, don't let anybody tell you what's going to happen to you and all that. Don't believe them. It's sorcery and it's a lie, and they don't know. Okay? What I'm telling you is, I have seen people, thousands, who were extremely sick. And according to the sorcerers in the House of Horrors, they should have been dead, and they're not. Oh, you got 3 months. Yeah, well, I'm talking to them, and it's 10 years later. So, okay. So they don't know. I'm going to go back to it. The doctors don't know, and they lie. And they don't care. I know when if there's some doctors out there that I offend, but I'm sorry, I'm sorry that you don't know. You don't understand it. So anyway, just remember, we're on not only on Instagram. I don't know how long they'll let us be on. We're on TikTok. We're on Rumble. We're on what are they? LinkedIn, and the website. You can go to the website under live, so you can stream this from all kinds of places. So if we ever get kicked off a certain social media platform, just go to another one. Okay. Yeah. Hi, Tiffany. Yes. Beautiful. I'm so glad you found us. Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, you guys. Excellent. So here we are. Now, and remember, that's always at drlodi.com, right? Isn't that it? At dr. Did I have it right? Wait. Oh no, I'm sorry. At dr Thomas Lodi. Yeah, at dr Thomas Lodi. At dr. So if you're Instagram or TikTok, except for Twitter or X, whatever you call it, it's at dr Thomas Lodi MD. Anyway, you'll find me. Okay. So anyway, I think that's the only one I needed to tell you, right? I got people helping me stay on task now. Yeah. All right. Now, I just want to tell you something. I know you're all anxious. I apologize. I'll get to all the other questions as soon as I can. But I got to tell you something. It's just really bizarre. I had to fly a couple times here recently to Florida for these conferences, and I was in these American airports. It's amazing. So I was in the men's room, and as I'm walking in, it said unisex. There was a unisex door. I wanted to open it up because what is a unisex? Anyway, I'm not sure what the unisex is, but it's very strange. Then I was at the airport, and it said they were proudly announcing this is a dementia-friendly airport. Well, I mean, I'm not sure what that means, but it implies that there's a lot of demented people out there. How is that happening? How are people getting more and more demented? It's bizarre. We are a dementia-friendly airport. And then I'm in line, and there's a special needs line, and I'm trying to figure out what special needs. What is it? What does that mean, the special needs? I mean, don't we all have special needs? Anyway, that reminds me of the other thing. That was just mind. That I'm at the place, and they're going to start pre-boarding. They're going to start pre-boarding. Now, wait a minute. I thought we were all pre-boarding, right? If we're not boarding, if we're at the airport and we're not boarding and we're sitting there, then we are just before boarding. So we're pre-boarding. Aren't we all pre-boarding? Anyway, I didn't understand that. I don't understand that. What that means. We're going to start pre-boarding. So what was I doing before? Oh, pre-boarding. I see. Okay. Now, then the other thing, I was looking at all the TSA agents. I'm sorry if there's any TSA agents out there listening to me, but I just want to ask a question. I don't work at the airport and everything, but I was just wondering for the TSA agents, is there like a minimum weight requirement to be a TSA agent? Sometimes they have minimum age and stuff. I'm just wondering. I don't know. And then I still saw people that have the oxygen allergy. Have you ever seen people? They're allergic to oxygen. I'm sure you've seen them. You can recognize them. They're wearing a mask. Anyway, observations from American airports. Pretty crazy. Okay, so let's go through some questions, and somebody wanted me to talk about IPT, and I'll talk about that. Let me talk about that real quickly, okay? Now, IPT, insulin potentiated low dose chemotherapy. It can also be insulin potentiated therapy, which can be anything. We can use quercetin, you can use curcumin, you can use any botanical you want, you can use anything. The reason you're using insulin is because insulin is going to help you direct it to the chronically fermenting cells, because chronically fermenting cells, by the way, the word, remember that word, the crab word, that we call it what it is, chronically fermenting cells, CFCs. All CFCs have extra insulin receptors because they need more glucose. They need 19 times more glucose. So they have extra insulin receptors. And these insulin receptors are they're powerful. So they have a 70% higher affinity for insulin than normal cells. Yeah. Some really cool messages from you all. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. But knowing that, you can say, okay, well, let me have someone come in a fasting state, like you didn't eat. Usually, if it's going to be with low dose chemo, when I say low dose, I mean a minimum of 10%, maybe 5%, low dose. Okay, so you want that person should fast maybe 24 hours before, and then the day of, and then you can eat the next day. Why? Because you have less side effects. In fact, there are people that have gone through full dose, high dose, maximum tolerated chemo and did the fasting, right? This was all research published by Professor Longo at USC Medical Center. I think he's moved on now. I'm not sure if he's still there or not. But anyway, yeah, and people go through it and they don't lose their hair. They don't get real sick and everything. So the fasting before and during, but with IPT, it's good too. I mean, it's amazing. But anyway, the insulin allows you to target it. What does insulin do? Well, think about it. If you're eating food, your body wants you to be able to absorb that food into the cells. What you want to absorb into the cells are the nutrients that are absorbed through the gut. So you eat the food, it gets into your gut, it gets digested, right? It gets broken down. The proteins get broken down into amino acids. The complex carbs get broken down into simple carbs, and the fats get broken down and are put into these little things called micelles. And anyway, so it all gets broken down to like individual units. Those get absorbed, and now you want to get them in the cell. How are you going to get them in the cell? Well, when insulin binds to an insulin receptor on a cell, it changes the fatty acid constituency and makes it more permeable. And so anything in the environment moves in. Well, that's what insulin's for, right? One of the things that insulin does. So if you do that when you're trying to get curcumin into the cell, you're trying to get boswellia, you're trying to get quercetin, you're trying to get low dose chemo. Anyway, so by using it, you can do that, right? But you got to know how to do it. You can't, most people don't do. Most doctors, even what they call functional doctors, don't always know why they're doing what they're doing, and and for that reason, it's not cool. You've got to always know the details of why you're doing what you're doing, and how do you make it work better, and how do you make sure you don't have problems. You got to know that, and I just find that too many don't know. They don't understand. They didn't study it, or I don't know. I don't know. But here's how I look at it. If you come to me and I agree, and I say, sure, I would love to help you, and we have that is, we're not talking about legal. I'm just talking about that person to person. I guess the only word we can use is contract. It's not a contract. It's an agreement. It's an oath to each other to right. I'm going to do my best, and you're going to do your best, and we're going to get us through this. Right. That's it. All right. So if you do that, then I can't. If I'm going to put something into your body, I better know exactly what it is and the best way to do it, and otherwise I shouldn't do it, right? I'm sure you all agree with me, but unfortunately, that's not the way it is out there. I see the guys doing it. So I feel sorry for all of you guys, because you never know. How are you going to know if somebody really knows what they're talking about as a doctor? Too bad. They don't know, and they don't care to know. So I get, sometimes you might think I'm like over the top, but I'm not. You know why I'm not over the top? Because I did not take the Hippocratic Oath to do no harm to my career. I took it to do no harm to the people I work with. That's it, and I won't. And if that, if it became, if they if they ever make it so that I can't do this kind what I do, then I won't go back to the House of Horrors and poison people. I won't. Just like I won't go kill people. I won't join the army and kill people, and I won't molest children. I won't hurt animals. I won't. There's things I won't do in life. You got to know that. You got to know that. So make sure. It's hard to make sure. I feel it's really tragic for you all because you never know who's good unless you heard of him, a good friend, or you saw with your eyes and stuff like that. So anyway, that's that. But that's what IPT is. So to answer your question, that's what IPT is. So why do we do it? Why do we do it? Because we want to make sure we're going to target the chronically fermenting cells, right? That's what we want to do, and that's the way to do it. And we've known about it since the early 20s, right around the time that insulin was discovered in the first place. Dr. Donato Perez Garcia figured it all out and started doing it. Yeah, so it's pretty good. What are my thoughts on veganism? Okay, so veganism. Well, you all probably know my thoughts on that, and my thoughts come from again. No, it's not an opinion. It's the truth. And what is the truth? The truth is, and if you don't believe me, I want you to have someone drive you out to a jungle somewhere. And then I want you to take your clothes off and go in the jungle. And I want you to I want to see what you're going to eat. What do you think you're going to eat? And they leave. You can't get out. I mean, there's no way out. You're in the jungle now. What are you going to eat? What are you going to eat? What did God equip you with? This in the mouth. Are you going to like grab an animal and bite it on the neck until it breaks its neck? You can't, because your cheek will get in the way. Not like a dog or a cat. They don't have cheeks. They're designed differently. Oh my gosh. Why would that be? Well, form and function, anatomy and physiology. It's very simple. Very simple. And now what I can't believe is it's still a topic. Now, do we have to be vegans? That means no eggs and all that stuff. Not necessarily to be healthy, but in fact, I don't think most animals are not. I mean, elephants are, and hippos and horses and things like that. But even the primates, like the orangutans and stuff, they're still going to eat like bugs off each other and stuff like that. So, but it's only the chimp that eats flesh. Gorillas don't. Orangutans don't. Bonobos don't. Chimps do. 5% of their intake. And it's not for nutrition. It's to establish male hierarchy. That's what it is. It's a social process. It has nothing to do with nutrients. Anyway, so in addition to that, if one doesn't really believe that it's not in our nature, then why do we change the name? Why do we call them nuggets? Why do we call it beef? Why do we call it burger? Why do we call it pork chops? Why do we call it sausages? Why don't we just call it what it is? Dead cow, dead pig. Why don't we do that? Why? And why do we not just eat it the way it is? I mean, when I get an apple, I'm just going to eat the apple. I don't have to do anything to it. But if I'm going to eat a dead cow, what I got to do? I'm going to put it on the fire and do all kinds of stuff to it. Why? Is that the question? Yeah, it's the question. Why? Okay, so my view, and then here's what happens too. When you eat according to your biological requirements, and how do we know that? Because we understand our biology. How about our gut? You know about our gut? Anybody out there know about our gut? Do you know the relationship of our small intestines to our large intestines? What about the particular chemicals we produce in our liver? Do we produce uricase to break down uric acid? No. Do dogs? Yes. So we don't break down uric acid, so we get gout. Do dogs get gout? No. Cats? No. All right. So anyway, it just takes. It's just if you study it and think about it, you'll find out. Now, why do we want to know what to eat? We want to know what to eat because that's what makes up our body. What? 37 million new cells per second, right? Right. 37 million new cells per second, right? Made of what? KFC? Made of what? Cheese pizza? Made of what? Right? It's just like I want to eat. Oh, you know what? I eat grass-fed cow. All the cows I eat are organic and grass-fed. So I don't think the question should be, which kind of cow should I eat? The question really is, what would the cow eat so it could be healthy and have the best quality protein? Grass. Huh. Okay. So grass. That's why grass fed. So I got an idea. Let's skip the middleman and become grass fed. Daniel, you remember Daniel, chapter 1? Remember, go back to Daniel. Go back to Daniel. Pulses, right? He told the king. He goes, look, we're not going to get drunk. We're going to eat just pulses and stuff. We don't need to eat the dead animals and drink. Okay, we'll do that. And you guys, you let the other guys do that. We'll see what happens, right? So Daniel, okay. Yeah. It's all over. Go to Genesis 1:29, verse 1. Genesis chapter 1, verse 29. Just read it. Put it up all over your house. Put it on your forehead so everybody can see it. All right. So anyway, let's get to some of the questions, you guys. I know I'm really probably getting everybody pissed off, but my left side of my head hurts. Been a week. I'm taking tamoxifen. Do you think it's side effect? The left side. No, I don't think that's a side effect because it wouldn't be unilateral. But when you say left side of your head hurts, we have to look at other things. And I'm just answering this real quickly. The reason you have to do that is, usually if you have a systemic problem going on, it's going to be bilateral, be both sides, right? Right. So if both of my legs are swollen, then I've got a systemic problem going on. If one leg is swollen, then I know I've got something anatomical blocking it. Right. So you got to think in those terms. So if you got just left side of your head hurting, I would go to somebody you trust, that's a health professional of some sort, and ask them to evaluate you, because we got to is your vision okay? There's a lot of questions, so that's a good one. Okay. So yeah, I know. So anyway, so understand that, everybody understand that we are designed to eat plants. Our physiology. You know what? By the way, we have two enzymes are in our saliva. You know what they are? Lipase and amylase. What are those for? Lipase digests fats, and amylase digests carbohydrates. We don't have proteases to digest protein. Amylase and lipase. We also have pancreatic lipase and amylase. Our jaws, we have cheeks and tongues and mouths, all the same thing as the herbivores have. Same thing. Okay, look at a dog and a cat. They have a thin tongue. They have no cheeks. All of their teeth are sharp. They don't chew. They just gulp and swallow. Well, I do that too. Yeah. But anyway, we're supposed to chew. And then they have a very short digestive tract. And they don't sweat. They pant. They pant. Okay? Yeah, I know we pant sometimes, but it's for another reason, right? Yeah. honeymoons and things like that. But other than that, we don't pant. If we're hot, we sweat. So on the honeymoons, we pant and sweat. Yeah, that's cool. But anyway, the point is completely different physiology, completely different and instinctual. I'm telling you, take your dog for a walk. And if you walk by a dead animal, your dog is going to go smell it. Are you going to go smell it? No. Why? Okay, now let's answer this first question. This question is from the website, and it says, this is from Stella, and it says, struggling with anxiety after a traumatic event. Any natural remedies or supplements I can take? Well, that's a good question, and I'm glad you asked it because we are all suffering from traumatic events that we've had, right? I mean, we're all going. The world is going through a trauma right now. I do these lives every Sunday at 5 p.m. Arizona time. I don't know because Arizona never changes, but I know California, everything goes through daylight savings or whatever that is, and so sometimes it's 8:00 in New York, and sometimes it's 4:00. Anyway, but it's 5. Just remember 5:00 Arizona time, and then 7 a.m. Thailand time the next day. But anyway, so the world's going through a lot of trauma right now, big trauma, and I'm not sure what yours was, Stella, but I'm sure it was horrible. And I mean, if someone finds out that they have CFCs, the way the words that the oncologists use are extremely traumatic, and it's like when you walk out of that office, you've got PSTD, you've got post-traumatic stress syndrome disorder, whatever. And so we all have trauma. So that's a good question. How do we deal with it? Well, dealing with stress, and dealing with trauma, and it usually has to do, like if you had a trauma, for example, if you were raped, or if you were, in a, like I had a horrible thing happen. Let's say you were driving around the mountain and you hit a dog, or something terrible like that. Or, I'm not equating that with rape. I'm just saying there's lots of different things we could be having. You could have gone to war. People that go to war and see what they witness and what they have to do. Or you could have had your business bankrupt. Someone did something bad to you and bankrupt your business. You found out that your wife or husband that you thought you had a wonderful, loving, caring, honest relationship. You find out that it's not what you thought it was, and that's extremely traumatic. Or you have a child do something. So there's many kinds of tragedies that we can face. And so how do we deal with it? Well, and that's a beautiful question. So how do we deal with any tragedy? We first of all, you got to talk about it. You can't keep it inside. You've got to talk to somebody. You've got to have a friend. It's called catharsis. It's called but the reason you've got to talk about your story is because if you don't talk about it, it's tied deeply into your emotions, and it becomes exaggerated. It becomes more, and it's like, and it paralyzes you. But once you start to tell your story, it's kind of like the alcoholic who goes to the AA meeting, and for the first 6 months they don't ever get up. Never get up, and they just sit there, and it's inside, and they're thinking that nobody has it like me, mine. And when they finally get up and they say, hi, my name is, and I'm an alcoholic, once they say that, they let it out. Oh, felt good. Now, but we've got to tell our stories, whatever it is. So once we tell our story, it feels good. Oh. Now, then we tell it again and again and again and again. And by the time you've told it 50 times, it's no longer your story. You gave it away. It's not hanging on to you. It's not ripping your heart out. It's gone. You told the story. It's the story. And then you're going to say, hey, you want to know what I did? You know what I know? And then it's no problem. So it's really important to talk about it, get it out, really important. You know, it'll hurt the first few times, but once you get rid of it, you find that it's just another story. It's not my story, it's a story. I mean, I think Shakespeare wrote, Shakespeare wrote, if you know the idea about Shakespeare, all the plays he wrote were all, not most, all of the human dramas that exist. I don't remember how many there are, but there are a certain number of human dramas. He wrote them all beautifully, fantastically. Okay, so your story is just the human drama being told again, and of course it's painful. Of course, somebody dies, or that you love. I mean, it's painful. I'm not saying it's not painful, but I'm just saying don't hang on to it. Just get it out there. Let it get out there. Then what we have to learn to do is to learn to turn off our minds. Remember that Beatles song, turn off your mind, relax, and float downstream. It isn't dying, it is being. They were pretty incredible. I don't hear any groups singing like these guys did, or Bob Dylan, or Jefferson Airplane. I just don't hear that kind of stuff nowadays. But anyway, we got to learn how to turn our minds off, because our minds are our most important tool, and they're also our greatest adversary. And the mind is good if you're for getting things done. Like you got to go to the store. Okay, find my keys. Blah, 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 blah. You got to do a project. Okay, you need your mind. But when you're not using your mind, put it on automatic. Put it onto your breath. Go back to your breath. Otherwise, your mind is going to turn on you, and it's going to tell you all kinds of stuff. Okay, so that's very important. But now I want to tell you something else, and that is, in terms of things you might want to take, there is a peptide. You all know what peptides are, right? Peptides are amino acids strung together. 50 or less is a peptide. 50 or less amino acids strung together. If you have 100 or more, it's called a protein. Our body makes about 30,000 proteins, and our body makes about 300,000 peptides. And peptides are one of the methods by which our cells communicate with each other. Okay, so anyway, there's one peptide. It's a synthetic peptide. It's derived from it's a naturally occurring peptide in our body called tufstin, right? And it stimulates the immune system, right? It stimulates the ability of white blood cells to, the phagocytic white blood cells to eat. All right, so it's really good. And of course, it was discovered at Tufts University, right? So it's called tufstin. It's very weird, but anyway. There was a modification of that peptide, and it's called C-Link. And C-Link has 4 amino acids, all right? So just 4 amino acids. Is it 7? How many does it have? It's either 7 or 4, I can't remember. But anyway, it turns out that what it does is it knocks down anxiety. And the way it knocks down anxiety is pretty interesting. There's a neurotransmitter and neuropeptide called enkephalin. And enkephalin is one of the endogenous opiates. They call them endogenous opiates, right? And there are external opiates, right? Of course, opium, poppy, and then they make that into morphine and all that sort of thing. But we have our body makes what they call endogenous, and they bind to opiate receptors. Anyway, one of them is enkephalin, right? And so what they did some studies, and they found out that if they stopped, if they took rats or whatever, and they blocked the ability to produce enkephalin, right? That they were extremely anxious and fearful, and they really, it was really horrible. So the enkephalin is very important. Okay, and so that's what happens. So anyway, that's what C-Lank does. And so C-Lank is very, very what they call anxiolytic, and it's a peptide. Now, you can usually peptides, like another one that I recommend for all of us is thymosin alpha 1, which stimulates our lymphocytes that are made in our bone marrow to become T cells, because it's the T cells that kill tumors and kill other kinds of situations. So we need, T cells are essential to life, of course. But anyway, if the lymphocyte made in the bone marrow goes to a lymph node, it becomes a B cell. If it goes to the spleen, it becomes a B cell. B cells produce antibodies, very different than T cells, which directly kill. So very different, T cells and B cells. So we need that from our thymus gland. Our thymus gland shrinks and shrinks and shrinks every year, and eventually it's so small that it's not really active, and so we're not making many T cells, and our immunity goes down, and that's why they say elderly people have weakened immunity, and that's what. So and it's all the same. It doesn't matter if you have ALL, leukemia, or if you have whatever. We're talking solid tumors, blood, leukemias, lymphomas. It's really all the same. It's all the same thing going on. But anyway, now the C-Lank, what they have found that is that it's nootrophic. That means it makes the brain cells grow. And so for that reason, it became known that it also improves memory and it increases learning time. So you learn things faster and it improves your memory. You're going to remember it. So it just kind of, it's clarity. It gives you clarity. So there's C-Lank and C-Max. C-Max does all that stuff, but it doesn't reduce the anxiety, whereas C-Lank, SELANK, C-Lank does reduce anxiety, and by reducing the anxiety, it also improves cognition, memory, focus, right? It actually, there's something called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which we all, if you study neurology and stuff like that, you understand how important that is. Makes brain cells grow and do what they need to do. Well, it stimulates the production of that. It increases it, right? It increases the memory, learning. It makes your brain more plastic, able to move around, able to learn new things and develop new connections. But it also is neuroprotective. It protects against oxidants that would harm the brain. So it's like amazing. It's amazing. So I don't really have anxiety, so I like the C-Max, which does, because I took C-Lank too, but I didn't feel the difference between C-Lank and C-Max, right? If you have anxiety, the C-Lank is better. If you don't have anxiety, but it'll do that. And because remember something, if somebody's really anxious, that anxiety is going to prevent them from being able to learn. It's going to prevent them from being able to be calm and mellow about something, right? Okay, so, but this is real. This is real. SELANK. Now, you can take it as a small injection, like with a little insulin syringe, a little, just a little one. And it doesn't hurt. It's just a little syringe. It's not a big needle. It's an insulin syringe. And you can give it yourself once or twice a day. Or also, it's such a small peptide that they have made a spray, and you go, right, and you spray it up in your nose, and your nose, there's a thing, a structure in your way up in the back of your nose called the cribriform plate, which allows whatever you have snorted in your nose to get up into your brain as well, and gets up into your brain right away. So it's really good. And so you can get C-Lank intranasally. Now, the question is where, right? And, so C-Lank would be good. Suppose you had to give a speech in front of a lot of people and it made you really nervous, right? Well, you don't want to take like a tranquilizer, because that'll make you not remember and not be as articulate. So, but if you did the C-Lank, it's going to get rid of that anxiety associated with, having to give a speech or whatever it is, and then also help you keep you clear. So it's pretty cool. Now, you're all familiar with the Fraud and Death Association, right? FDA, yeah. So they've made this extremely difficult to get now. And you know why? Because I don't know, it doesn't fit in their paradigm. Because you see, the FDA has their customers are Pfizer and Moderna and big companies like that, so that are making, and all the other ones too, Merck Sharp Dome, that are making like tranquilizers, that are making whatever they're doing for anxiety. So they don't want you to get something really natural and safe. Now, how safe is it? They did a test where they gave 500 times the standard dose, and there was no effect at all. Why? Because a peptide, remember, it's not a drug. A peptide is a bunch of amino acids strung together. So suppose you accidentally took way too much. What would happen? Well, your body would break down the amino acid. The peptides, just, I think it's 5 tetra or it's either 5, 6, or 7 amino acids. Anyway, it breaks them down, and they go into your amino acid pool, and they're ready for when your body's going to be making 37 million new cells per second. It's going to need amino acids, right? So it's not poison. There's no toxicity associated with it. So in terms of safety, it's very safe, and it's not addictive. It's not, there's none of the bad stuff. Okay, so it's a really good, it's just amazing. Okay, but that's what I would say for anxiety. Okay, so from anxiety, because wow, okay, so a lot of questions here. Where do you get it? Where there? Yeah, that's the question. Where do you get it? So, if you've got like a functional, they call them functional doctors. I don't know where they got that term. It's so stupid, but all these words are stupid. But functional medicine doctor or alternative doctor, whatever. If you have one that's really good, they work with what's called a compounding pharmacy. Compounding pharmacies are pharmacies where they actually compound things, a unique thing for somebody, rather than a retail pharmacy where they have products that are all patented and like that. So a good compounding pharmacy can make it. Thank you. The anxiety answer. Oh yeah, so this is the anxiety. I'm answering the anxiety thing right now. I'm saying that all the things you can do. By the way, this is all recorded, and every platform that you're watching, except for TikTok, will have it in there. So you can go to Instagram and watch this whole thing tomorrow too, or YouTube, or Rumble, or whatever. They're all going to be on there. So what's my viewpoint on what? Okay, so anyway, all right. Okay, now, so the place, okay, so you can get a compounding pharmacy to make it, but then you won't know the quality. Now, there's one company called Peptide Sciences, and they make it, but they only make the injectable form. And actually, we get it from another place, really high quality, and they can't sell it in the United States. So, but they can send it to us in another country. But anyway, so I guess a compounding pharmacy, and I know that there must be, there are doctors around that have access to it. So, but it's very, very good. Okay. But other than that, remember, we got to tell our story. We got to tell our story. Don't keep it inside. Don't think that you're unique. None of us are unique. I know that's kind of a bummer for everybody to hear, because we grew up watching movies and thinking that celebrities were special and unique, but they're not. They're all the same. We're all the same. We're all the same anatomically. We might have a minor variation of 2 millimeters this way or two, but we're all the same. And we're all the same emotionally, and we're all the same psychologically, and we all have the same needs. Believe it or not, I mean, even the people that we hate have the same needs and anatomically are the same. And it's really hard to figure out. But I mean, we all need, I'm talking about humans, and I don't know, I think there's a lot of entities around here that may not be human. I'm pretty sure about that, because they're destroying the biosphere. So I guess they don't need the biosphere. So maybe they're not quite human. But anyway, we all need to love, and we all need to be loved. We all need to be touched. We all need to touch. We all need to eat. We all need to sleep. We have the same needs, and the same things make us happy. But you know what? I've come to the conclusion that there may be at least 2 species spiritually. I know it sounds weird, but for example, I have never had a physical fight. I can't. I was forced into one because I was 13 years old and stupid, and I hit somebody, and he like kind of fell back, and I felt so bad. I said, I'm done. I can't do this. I don't care what the reason is. I can't do it. I can't do it. So I can't hurt someone. I also don't like to watch violence. I don't like to watch some people like to watch fights, and I can't watch it. I just don't want to watch it. And so I don't like hurting people. I don't like to be hurt. Yeah. So, and then again, I know that there are people who like to fight. They look for fights. They walk into the bar and I'm going to kick some ass, and they want to fight. And I just don't get it. So I don't get it. And, just like I could never, some people like to kill. I can't believe that, or have no second thoughts about it. So that's why I think I think you're on, one side or the other. You can't be in the middle. There's no middle. There's no middle. Right? So, but anyway, but pretty much we're all the same. I just want you to know that we're not, and and we've got the same body and all that, right? So, yeah. And the good news about that is, don't feel bad about it. Just understand something. If you really understand yourself, if you are honest with yourself, if you kind of watch how your mind works, how your heart works, how your emotions work, if you understand yourself really with an unbiased eye, just really observe, then you know me and her and him and everybody. So if you know yourself, you know everybody. It's just the way it is. Okay, so now let me go back to the questions. Wait, you know what? I got the air conditioning on. It's freezing. Let me just turn it off. Wow, it's freezing. In Arizona, it's crazy. So, all right. So now, another one. I just finished this is Ginger. I just finished Dr. Lodi live from last Sunday. He didn't answer so I'm resubmitting changing a little. Please tell me if you think it's best. This is the best to describe. I have a spastic esophagus causing a lot of pain. Worried it could be CFCs. Can't get a gastro doctor appointment until January. Also, I found out that I have hyperparathyroid. The level is 114. Is it important to get an ultrasound? I started juicing. Any suggestions for both, please and thank you. Okay, so a spastic esophagus. So, the esophagus is right in the chest. It's right next to the heart. And I understand the pain you're talking about, because when we have someone come in the emergency room, and this has happened before, a spastic esophagus, the subjective pain, is so close to a heart attack that a lot of times, we're doing EKGs on people to find, to see, because on an EKG you can see if someone's having what's called a myocardial infarction or a heart attack, and in the end we find out that they had a spastic esophagus. So that can be very, very painful, because there's a lot of the same nerves around there, right? They share a lot of same nerves, and it's right in the middle of the chest. And so, yeah, I get it. So now, a spastic esophagus is not does not lead to CFCs. Okay, usually esophageal CFCs comes from, and it happens not in the mid or the upper, but they're most commonly in the lower part of the esophagus that connects to the stomach. And they're usually related to having had a lot of acid reflux for many years, which caused irritation and chronic inflammation in that area. And they get a lower esophageal, chronically fermenting cells. So that's the usual pathway of developing it, not the spastic. Now, I don't know what's going on with you in particular, but you need to go to someone who knows what they're doing. But anyway, doing a juice cleanse, excellent. Do that juice cleanse. Whenever anybody's sick with anything, the first thing you do is stop eating and drink. Make fresh vegetable juice. Easy recipe: celery, cucumbers, kale, spinach, lemon, and apple. Very easy. You can modify it, whatever, but use the celery and cucumber for the volumes of water. Drink 3-4 quarts a day. And do this for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, but as long as you want, as long as you can. You can do it for 2 months if you want. You're getting a ton of nutrition. The only nutrients you're not getting are fat and fiber, but you're getting carbs, you're getting amino acids, which are proteins and peptides, and you're getting phytonutrients, and you're getting chelated minerals. And so you're getting more nutrition than the average American. In one quart, you're getting more nutrition than the average American gets in a month. Yeah, so it's a bit highly nutritious. That's why we call it a juice feast, not a fast. Anyway, yeah, that's a great way to start it out and see what happens. Let it heal. Let it heal. It will heal. But what you're describing, a spasm that goes in spasm, is not what we see with CFC. So now, you said you also have hyperparathyroidism. So just as everybody. Just so everybody on the same page here, what does that mean, hyperparathyroidism? Well, where is it? I'm trying to find where are we? Yay, there we are. Hyperparathyroidism. You have a thyroid gland, right? Your thyroid gland makes thyroid hormone, and thyroid hormone goes around and gets all the cells to make energy, right? Now, there's 4 corners of the thyroid. They're called parathyroid glands. They're little roundish parathyroid glands. So para because they're next to. Para means next to. So parathyroid. But they have nothing to do with thyroid. Thyroid helps maintain our energy outflow, our energy production, and the parathyroid controls calcium levels in our blood. And so we have two hormones that come from the parathyroid gland. One is called parathormone, and the other one is called calcitonin. And so parathormone will pull calcium out of the bones. That's where we store our calcium, and put it into the blood to maintain healthy calcium levels. Why is calcium so important? Well, every time you move your muscle and it contracts, you're using calcium. And there's a lot of other things. There's, each cell has what they call a voltage gated calcium channel that lets calcium in and out, because calcium has all kinds of stuff. It does all kinds of many different functions. But what else is it? Okay, and then the other thing is, if you've got too much calcium, one of the ways you can get rid of it is by, of course, drinking a lot of fluid and peeing a lot. But also there's another hormone that's produced in our parathyroid called calcitonin, and calcitonin takes calcium and puts it back into the bone. Okay, so those two hormones are modulating, just like estrogen and progesterone, just like HIF-1 alpha and ascorbates. So everything is modulating, to fine tune it. So that's what's happening. So if you have hyperthyroid, now you said your number was 116 or something, you're probably talking about the number for your PTH, your parathormone, right? And it usually, that is high. Yeah, that is high. So all you have to look at with parathyroid problems is, are you having calcium problems? So you got to look at your calcium, because if the calcium gets too high, it can cause all kinds of problems. Of course, you'll have increased kidney stones and things like that, but a lot of other ones. It can be very dangerous. Okay, so you need to take care of that. You need to find out what's going on. But in the meantime, if your calcium is, check your calcium. What can you do about it? There's they have, most of the treatments are dealing with getting rid of the calcium. That's what most of the treatments are. And you can do those, and that's what most doctors will do, is treat lowering the calcium. They also think they can do surgery. So we have 4 parathyroid glands. Sometimes they'll cut out 3.5, because you still need a little bit, but sometimes that doesn't work either. But you can also take the doctor can give you calcitonin, which is the other one, which will return the calcium to the bones. So if you truly have parathyroid problems, you need to be checked out by really a good quality functional doctor, because if your parathyroid's having a problem, you might have thyroid problems too. So, but you need to find out. But the thing to worry about, not be worried about, the thing to be concerned with at this moment is, what is your calcium, and then you need to get someone who can help you with that, right? So anyway, the other thing is that a couple of other things that can lead to high calcium, is you can have problems with vitamin D. You can have kidney problems and things like that. So you've got to look at it. There's something called primary hyperthyroidism, secondary hyperthyroidism. So, and it can be due to a little benign, not malignant, a benign thing called an adenoma on your pituitary gland, and on your parathyroid gland. Yeah, it's called an adenoma. And of course, but it's very, 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 very extremely rare to have any kind of cancer on the parathyroid. Okay, so. All right, let's go. Let's see what the next question is. So anyway, yes, start your juice cleanse. Take care of the calcium. Figure out if you got high calcium or not. So where the heck is excuse me, I'm trying to find, let's get that over there. Okay. I'm trying to find the questions again. There they are. God, okay. Let's put the questions on this way. Should we put the questions over here? Yeah. Hey, okay, cool. That worked better. Yeah. All right. So, okay. So the next section that people are asking questions about is are parasites, and this is seems to be very. Now, here's what I'm doing, you guys, because I didn't realize that there would be such an interest in parasites. I'm really glad everyone's interested. So I'm going to change. I'm going to add. I'm going to have if you've got CFCs, it's going to take a long discussion. And anyone who's had a session with me knows that even though we're scheduled to have 1 hour, I don't never been less than 2 hours. But anyway, but for parasites, we can. What's a CFC? CFC is a chronically fermenting cell, and that's what we use. We use the term chronically fermenting cell because that the cell that what the Rockefellers call cancer. Right. First of all, that's not descriptive. It doesn't tell you anything. And number two, there's so much fear with that word that word is a paralyzing word. It hurts to say. Okay. But CFC doesn't hurt. Okay. And that's exactly what it is. It's a chronically fermenting cell. Well, let's change that. Okay. Let's change that. All right. So the question about parasites, because we all have parasites. Yes, that's what it is. It's cancer, chronically fermenting cells. So we all have parasites, and they're the parasites that are we have ectoparasites, which are like fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, right? So they, lice, things like that. And then endoparasites, which are either worms, which they call helminths, or protozoa, which are single cell organisms. And then there are other parasites we have not really been able to, or there are organisms in our body, in our blood, everywhere, that are nano-sized, like 50 nanometers up to, let's say, even up to 500 nanometers. But that's very small, right? That's 1/1000th of a meter. That's the size of exosomes, which people usually confuse them with viruses, because there's no such thing as viruses. But anyway, so now what these parasites do, whether they're worms or what the worms do, is in order to escape, in order to have a successful life, they hide out in your bowel wall, they hide out in your ovary wall, their testes, the uterus, liver, spleen, lungs, brain. They hide out in the wall. They burrow deep in the wall, so you're not going to find them. Okay. And they lay eggs. They lay either 20,000, 200,000 a day. So you can't just use a simple parasite cleanse with, wormwood and, clove. And, there's a lot of, those are great for preventing, and if you took them all the time. But once these guys are deep into your tissues, remember too, even if you successfully kill them all with several drugs, you got the adults. So now the eggs are going to hatch. And by the time, and then if you kill them, they've already laid eggs. And so it's really becomes you got to do 3 weeks on, 1 week off, or 4 weeks on, 1 week off. And you got to do that for multiple cycles until they're gone. Once you've gotten rid of them, and how do you know you got rid of them? There's no way to test because you don't know you can't prove that you have them in most cases. All right. So the only way you can do is with some sort of energy device, like an acupuncture meridian test, EDS, electrodermal screening, because it picks it up. He says, because there's no way to find, you're not going to find them unless you take your body apart and you find them in the walls of different organs, right? So, so all these questions here that I have are like, like Stephanie say, can I confirm the anti-parasitic protocol? tinidazole, 500 milligrams. Well, okay. Okay. First of all, they're hard to find because the amounts that I would recommend and the length of time to take them, the pharmacies usually say, no. I'm not going to fill that. Right? So that's pretty crazy. They're not going to fill that. So, because they think it's dangerous. So, okay. And don't worry. You need to take it, because if you don't kill them all, then you will disturb them and they'll migrate to another organ. You're not going to, then your problems are going to get worse. So you've got to really kill them. All right. So we use things like praziquantel, 600 milligrams 3 times a day. We use niclosamide, 500 milligrams 3 times a day. We use ivermectin, 12 milligrams 3 times a day. We use mebendazole, 100 milligrams 3 times a day. Or if you get a 500 milligrams 3 times a day, it doesn't matter. Fenbendazole, 222 milligrams 3 times a day. Yeah. Did I say niclosamide, 500 milligrams? Yeah. So anyway, hard to get, but you can find things online, and you have to go, maybe order from another country or something like that. Or, we've only found like 3 pharmacies in the U.S. that will actually do it, fill our prescriptions. And I'm just afraid that, in the near future, they won't be able to do that because, it's the way they are. But like, for example, I think ivermectin you can get. I hate to say these things. I just don't want whatever anybody's able to get right now. If I say it, where it's from and all that, then I'm afraid they'll go after it and close it down. So, won't the die-off make you terribly ill? No, well, no. I mean, if you have, well, I've done several rounds already, and I have people that do. I have people with what they thought were tumors in their lung, and they've done it cycles for a whole year. What they thought was a tumor is gone now, and they didn't have a lot of die-off. So some people might have die-off, right? It depends, but it doesn't matter. You just have to go through it or slow down for a while and then go back on it. But you have to be consistent. You want to get rid of them. All right. Now, so what we're going to have to do is we're going to have, like I said, like a closed circuit Zoom meeting with all, and that's what I'm going to do with the parasite thing. So as soon as I get back home, I'm going to post that online. Okay. And then it's going to be about a 2-hour, listen, everybody, you can go back and rewatch this tomorrow. It's going to be saved on Instagram, Instagram and YouTube and LinkedIn and my website. Yeah, it's all saved. So you can watch it again. So anyway, what I'm gonna do is I want to do like a Zoom. I think you can have 200 people on a Zoom, 200 or somebody was saying they got 1,000. I don't know. But anyway, we can get a lot of people on the Zoom. And what we'll do is what I can do is share the screen, and I want you to see what, and then I'll talk it through. It'll take about 2 hours. It's a lot of information. Yeah. So then we can talk about things, right? Yeah. It'll be just parasites. And then after I'm done, you guys will be on the Zoom. We can just ask questions. We can talk about it and get this, try to get as much as we can out of that time. All right. Now, by the way, when the parasites start being killed, and that you're going to wind up getting funguses, yeast, because remember the job of yeast and funguses on planet Earth is to recycle dead matter. So that's what's going to happen. Well, no, I think if I have a paid for Zoom. So, I mean, I paid a Zoom. I think we can get 200, but someone told me, in fact, Nathan Crane, who makes documentaries, was telling me that they got 1,000. So I guess you could do that. Yeah. So, and then there's protozoa, right? We just talked about the worms. The protozoa, you need Alinea will do it, which is nitazoxanide. And then you need tinidazole and metronidazole. They get rid of protozoas. And the protozoas are like toxoplasmosis. What's that one? Why do I always forget the name? The one that, and there's entamoeba, of course. Anyway, I forget that one. It's crazy. I always forget it. Because it used to be called Gardnerella. It's the one that women, when they get it, it makes them smell like fish. Men carry it. They don't know they have it. Whatever. Anyway, that's a protozoa. And here's the thing. If you don't take care of it, you don't get rid of it, it can turn into cervical CFCs or prostate CFCs. So you got to get rid of it. I don't usually recommend drugs, but trichomonas. There you go. Trichomonas. Yes. So I don't usually recommend drugs at all. You know that. Okay. But this is one time where we have to. Trichomonas. Thank you very much, Jenny. That's great. Thank you. Why do I always forget that? Because there was this Russian lady in the 70s or 80s who was convinced that all CFCs come from trichomonads. Trichomonads. All right. So anyway, I gotta try to stay on. Okay, good. So I am. What? I am following your parasite suggestion from podcast. Blah, blah, blah. Upon an ivermectin request from my doctor, he prescribed one pill. While attempting to obtain praziquantel from a local vet, he said I need to bring my dog to get a prescription. And then I was just lured into a Telegram chat and convinced I could get my first month's supply delivered, and I foolishly gave $1,000. That is now gone. I am on Social Security, so this really hurts. Wow, so you want to know. So this is Donald. Anyway, Donald, wow, what a bummer. That's really, I don't know how people do that. That's really sad. I'm really so sorry to hear that. It might be worth it for you if you can somehow go to Mexico or another place where you can just walk in the store and buy it. Because even if you get it here, they make it really expensive, and it's really hard if you got to do multiple months. Same thing as in Thailand, you can do it. Okay, Angie, how to treat dogs and cats for Morgellons. Is Morgellons Candida auris? My son was diagnosed with Candida auris 4 years ago after a severe motorcycle accident, hospitalized him for 7 months of life support, 5.5 of those months, and a bilateral craniotomy. In the following protocol acceptable because I was only able to get my hands on certain meds since doctors won't help. I know they won't help. Fluconazole 3 times a day, metronidazole 2 times a day, Z-Pack for 7 days, 12 milligrams over 3 times a day, Fenben 3 times a day, oregano 2 times a day. and nystatin 3 times a day. Yeah, I mean, that's good. And then you've got the lumbrokinase, activated charcoal, colloidal silver, milk thistle, mimosa putica, NAC, selenium, zinc. It's all good stuff. You've got all good stuff. But Morgellons, here's the thing about Morgellons. I don't think that they're really biological. I think they're synthetic biology. I think they were made and they're synthetic biology, meaning they're not natural biological entities. That's what I think. So that's the problem. And where are they coming from? How are they getting into us? Well, you all know what's going on. You all know what's going on, right? Weather is now manipulated. All these storms and fires, just trying to prove to us that there is a climate crisis, so they can have a justification for climate lockdowns or whatever. So just keep that in mind. But so there's that, and we know that we're finding synthetic biology in a lot of the medications too. So it's all out war against humanity. So I don't know how else. There's not another way to say it. So I don't know how to imply what I just said rather than just saying it. So again, with Morgellons, they drive people crazy. And what are they? We just don't know what they are. So they're on your bed sheets. Well, you could get them and get some analyzed. Really crazy. How did it all come to be like this? Hello, this is Paul. Hello, I tried to schedule a consultation, but the website, no days available. I'm in Canada. Please see the video. Oh, again, it's talking about parasites. Yeah. So as I said, we're going to do a podcast, a webinar with that on Zoom. Okay. Because fulvic and humic acid are great, but these guys are deep in the walls of our organs. Please understand that. They're deep in the walls of our organs, and they're not going to be pulled out by binders or anything. How are we ever going to get through this? Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm very disappointed in us Americans. I remember reading about a guy running through, living back in the late 1700s, who said, "Give me liberty or give me death." And that generation were courageous. We're not. I thought if Americans' freedom was ever threatened, that we would remember why the public was allowed to be armed to protect ourselves. We haven't done anything. We saw what happened on the island over there. Everyone knows what island I'm talking about. So we saw what happened, and we've done nothing. We saw what happened in 2020. And no one does anything. We don't do anything. Who was it? Was it? It was a playwriter in. Even though some people said it was Caesar himself who said it, but it was actually Cicero or someone, a playwright who said, "Give them up, keep them fed and entertained, and they will not revolt." So we are very well fed and very well entertained, and no one's doing anything. So what would we do? What would we do? Well, remember, people, being the 99%, if we all just stopped and did nothing, all the wheels of their machines would be shut down. We all get together, decide, we pick a date, and we all get enough food and all that, and get DVDs with old movies or whatever you have. And on that date we start, we don't go out, we don't work, we don't use computers, we don't use televisions, we don't engage, we don't keep the wheels of this machine running, we don't use our cars, we don't buy gas. Shut it down. We have that power. We are the elephant that doesn't want to go uphill. And I'm telling you something, if you ever get near an elephant and that elephant sits down and you want it to go uphill, you're not going uphill. We are the elephant. Okay, so there's our power. Because I think there's no other way, because they've got direct energy weapons, they've got all these things that are way beyond even our understanding. And so, but we do have the power in not doing. But we'd have to all do it, and we won't. And neither will we fight. It's all going to happen, and we're not doing anything. And that's a tragedy. And I think the whole world is looking to America, because the whole world knows that we're the only ones that could, because we've got the ability, we're armed, but we're not. So we're not only failing ourselves, we're failing the world. Where's all of our young people that are able-bodied? They're playing video games. They're on their phones. I don't know how else to say it. I mean, are we gonna just watch it happen? I guess so. This is from Angie. I'm on 80 milligrams of tyrosine. My TSH is 7, and I'm always cold, but wanted to start doing armor since I saw your video with Jonathan. I realized from your interview why I always feel better in Greece. I come here to Texas and my hair starts falling out again. I reverse osmose my drinking water and not my showers. My question is, I can start with just 1 grain of armor in the morning for a week and retest my temperature. All right, so this is a good question. Angie's talking about thyroid health. And the thyroid health is very important to all of us, because we all have to realize that thyroid is unlike other hormones like estrogen or testosterone. Like, not every cell has an estrogen receptor. Not every cell has a testosterone receptor. Not every cell has progesterone receptor. But every cell has thyroid receptors. And that's because the purpose of thyroid, it's called T4 and T3. The 4 and the 3 refer to iodides. That's I with a negative sign. So it delivers iodide to the mitochondrial membrane and depolarizes the mitochondrial membrane, which causes the cell to make more energy. Okay, and if there's not enough of that happening, then you get hypothyroid. And if it's too much happening, you get hyperthyroid. Okay, so anyway, Problem is, we don't have iodide anymore available to us. It's not in the soil like it used to be, and we don't eat seaweed because seaweed is where you get it. Japanese have it. Koreans have it. They have enough. We don't. So we've got to take iodine, and we have to take it in the form of iodide and iodine, both. One is the anion, and the other one is the molecular iodine. They both have very important purposes. The thyroid is on the same meridian as the breast, and they both are the only two organs that have such powerful sodium iodide transporter systems, meaning they can pick iodine out of the blood better than any other organ. And a pregnant woman, her breasts are able to take out more iodine from the blood than the thyroid gland. And that's for the baby. So you take your body temperature because you can't trust the blood test of T4, T3, because you don't know. It might not be, the 4 might not be 4 iodines. It's most likely going to be, I don't know, 2 bromides, 1 fluoride, and 1 chloride. It's still going to be a T4 and a T3. All right, so that's why the tests don't mean anything. But what does mean something is your body temperature. So you got to do your axillary armpit blood temperature. You take it in the morning before you get out of bed, before you go walking to the toilet, and you write it down for 5 days. And then you take the average. If the average is less than 97.8 Fahrenheit or 36.8 centigrade, then you have subclinical hypothyroidism, which means you're going to be needing to take, while you're replenishing your thyroid, your iodine, while you're doing that, then you're going to also take some sort of natural thyroid, such as Armor, or you can go online and get Thyrovance with a Z at the end, Thyrovance. And in addition to Armor, there's Westroid and Naturoid and stuff like that. And so you start, if your temperature is below that, you start taking one in the morning on an empty stomach. You wait a week, and then while you're still taking that one, you take your temperatures again. If you're still below it, you'll take a second one in the afternoon, early afternoon, like 30 minutes before eating, empty stomach. And you do that for about 10 days, 2 weeks, and then you check your temperatures again. If you're still below, then you do another one in the morning. Do that for about 2 weeks. And while you're taking all of those, and you'll still check for another 3 or 4 days, 5 days. If you're still below, you'll add a second one in the afternoon on an empty stomach. People don't usually have to do more than that. And you'll have to do that while you're taking your iodine, because it's going to take you about at least 1.5 years to 2 years to fill up your iodine deficit. And during that time, you're going to need to still have your thyroid functioning. And that way you don't have to go to a doctor, because you don't need the blood test. And you can find it online too. Yeah, it is all by design. And they've been working on this in earnest now about 130, 40 years. I have an enlarged thyroid. Blood work is normal. I do have secondary adrenal insufficiency. Okay, what the second, the adrenal glands and the thyroid work very much together. You've got to, in fact, it goes with all hormones. You can't fix one. You can't work on one hormone and balance it without the others. It's like in an orchestra tuning up the woodwinds, but not tuning up the strings, and not to, you got to tune up everything for the symphony to play. Right. That's what needs to happen. All right. So if you have adrenal insufficiency, which a lot of people do, and it can, adrenal exhaustion, it can come from stress, it can come from low vitamin C. You got to be taking a lot of vitamin C, because in order for our body to make neurotransmitters like dopamine and epinephrine, which is adrenaline, you need ascorbate. All right, so don't forget that. And you can take ashwagandha. There's a lot of things you can do for adrenal. And for the thyroid, you got to just be working on it with the way I just uh, told you. Okay. All right. So now, where are we? How much? How much Baluki, lumbrokinase, bottle says 1 to 2 caps, 1 to 3 times a day, and for how long? Well, remember, Baluki, like nattokinase, are natural substances that stimulate the part of a system in our body that breaks down blood clots. And why do we want to do that? Because everybody's been exposed to and continues to be exposed to things that are causing substances that are causing us to clot, and so you want to break those clots down. So it stimulates something called pepsinogen. And which my back is sore, which breaks down helps to break down clots. It's very, very important, right? So so let's see. Let's look for some. Let's see. Yeah. Anyway, I gotta look at these more questions. Anyway, it wasn't plasminogen. I said that wrongly. They stimulate plasminogen, which turns into plasmin, which breaks down. They're fibrinolytic. They break down the fibrin clots, and that's what it is. So that's what nattokinase does, and Baluki. How long should you do it? For a long time. Japanese eat natto, as a regular part of their diet, and natto has nattokinase. Same thing, yeah, same thing. So where are we? We're near the end here. Why do you live in a wooden home made with glue? Me? Why do I don't. This is not my home. This is a hotel. Anyway, was that a question? Was that a real question, or were you trying to make a statement? What's the statement? Make the statement. Hi. Yeah. All right. So let's figure out. Let's see if there's any more questions. What are the other questions? Let's try to get at least one more in. Where did it go? Oh. Okay. God. There's that. Where was that other one? There it is. No. How come I can't find the questions? Oh my God. See, technology is just really, isn't it too much fun? I don't think I've had so much fun in a long time. This is just great. There, is that one? No. Can't find the questions. How bizarre. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, anyway, let's look at these. Um, how do you remove plaque in the carotid arteries? Well, the best way to remove plaque, there's only one way, and that's called, well, using Nagalase is really, really good. It's on an empty stomach, 200 units, 2 to 3 times a day on an empty stomach is very, very important. But another way to get rid of clots, to get rid of plaques, whether they're in your carotid arteries or your coronary arteries or any artery, is with fasting, water fasting, and you've got to get past. You've got to do it about 21 days, at least 21 days of water fast, drinking lots of water, resting, reading books on fasting, drinking lots of water, and yeah, that's what you do. And there's one of the ketone bodies that are it's called beta hydroxybutyrate, which actually stimulates the cells that line arteries to regrow, and it eats up, and then plus the body is eating up the plaque. So we've had people come in who had like a 96% occlusion of the coronary artery, and they were scheduled to get bypass surgery, and they did a 21 to 28 day water fast, and they went down to 80%, which means you don't have to have surgery, and that they keep doing it longer, it happens. And if you do it once a year, if you did 1 month a year, yeah. So that's the really natural way to do it, and it's the way God. It's the only cure handed down to us by God, and we know that because all creatures, when they're sick, stop eating, because they live under the auspices of instinct. And remember, instinct is the divine web by which all creatures are connected to God. Okay, instinct is how nature happens. It's how butterflies do what they do, spiders do what they do, birds do. They do it perfectly. They don't make any errors. They do it perfectly. They're all doing it by instinct. We're the only ones who are don't live by instinct. We live by culture. We're enculturated. So we're either good Americans, good Germans, good French, good South Americans, good Australians, good Chinese. So we're about it. That's about the time is up. Someone just asked a question about how do you deal with glioblastoma multiforme. Well, you got to get rid of the cause. So the cause is almost always teeth. You got to get all root canal. Biological dentist, a real one. Okay, takes out root canals, uses ozone, uses lasers, uses platelet-rich fibrin, does all that stuff, takes out root canals, looks for cavitations, takes out implants that were titanium or any kind of metal and all that, and does the same thing. You got to do all of that and take parasite cleanse for a year or two, and you got to just keep doing that and keep everything clean. Yeah. And then you can use things like Boswellia for the cerebral edema and things like that. Anyway, you guys, it's time, and I thank you so much. Sawadee Kap, and aloha, namaste, namaskar, and adios. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week. I don't know. I'll let you know. I don't know if I'm going to be. I think I might be traveling, and if so, then I'll have to skip a week. I hate it, so I'm going to try not to do it, but I'll let you know. Okay. Aloha. I don't know.